Welcome, everyone. My name is Tricia, and I'm a research associate with the National Institute on Out-of-School Time at Wellesley College. In researching the needs of summer programs, the June 2022 Wallace Foundation report indicated a desire for more training on trauma-informed practices. So this presentation is meant to walk you through an overview of trauma and offer suggestions for incorporating trauma-informed practices into your summer programs. You'll also find a variety of supplemental resources you can access for your own further learning. More and more youth are coming to our programs with histories of trauma. So it's really important for staff to be able to recognize signs and symptoms, have strategies to implement in order to mitigate trauma responses, and have the tools to address issues as they arise so you can best support youth. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, defines trauma as an event or circumstance resulting in physical, emotional, and/or life-threatening harm, having lasting adverse effects on mental, physical, and emotional health, and social and spiritual well-being. Trauma can be experienced in a variety of ways, from individual trauma to generational trauma or responses that are passed down through families, to community trauma experienced at the school or neighborhood level. This slide shows a variety of different traumatic events and adverse childhood experiences which you may be witnessing in some of your youth, including physical, sexual, or emotional abuse, neglect or sudden unexplained separation from loved ones, racism, oppression, violence, bullying, and more. Here is some information on the prevalence of trauma in our country. Over 1,000 youth are treated in emergency departments for physical assault-related injuries every day. More than 2/3 of children reported at least one traumatic event by the age of 16. 1 in 7 children experienced abuse or neglect in the last year. 1 in 5 high school students reported being bullied at school in 2019. And about 14 youth die from homicide every day. Though signs may differ from person to person, some possible signs of trauma or traumatic stress may include physical, social, or emotional behavior changes, or regression in behaviors. It's also important to note that signs may vary depending on age, gender, and type of adversity faced. This slide will walk us through some examples of signs you may see at different developmental stages. With preschool age children, you may see fear, separation anxiety, an increase in crying, or changes in eating or sleeping habits. For elementary aged youth, you may see anxiety, guilt, problems concentrating, or having difficulty with sleep. Middle and high school students may show some signs of depression, loneliness, self-harming behaviors, or other risky behaviors. More generally, you might see irritability, impulsive behavior, physical symptoms like complaints about headaches or stomach aches, emotional dysregulation or an inability to get back in control, and a loss of interest in activities that they were previously interested in. Massachusetts recently launched the Childhood Trauma Task Force, which is charged with determining how the Commonwealth can better identify and provide services to youth who have experienced trauma. They're also looking to study and make recommendations on improving the Commonwealth's response to childhood trauma. They produced several reports, which you can find on the state's website, in which they laid out 5 guiding principles using existing trauma frameworks for organizations who are looking to become more trauma-informed and trauma-responsive. The 5 domains include safety, transparency and trust, empowerment, voice and choice, equity, anti-bias efforts, and cultural affirmation, healthy relationships and interactions. The next set of slides will walk us through tips and practices that programs can implement within each of these 5 domains. It's important to note that youth are resilient and can continue to thrive after experiencing trauma. Participating in your programs is part of that caring support system that's going to help youth get through their experiences. Additionally, there are practices that we can actively implement that will benefit all youth while being sensitive to those who have experienced trauma. Though this presentation is not going to focus on healing trauma, we're going to look at ways to make participation in our programs safe and sensitive. Suggested practices will revolve around program and environmental structures, as well as individual group interactions. Safety refers to physical, emotional, and social safety. Providing predictable routines can decrease the difficulty some youth might experience with unexpected changes and uncertainty. This could look like providing a daily schedule, a review of the agenda every day, making reminders about upcoming transitions, and things that ensure that youth are going to know what to expect next. Making sure that you have enough staff available to accommodate the needs of youth, whether or not you have a mandated ratio, is important to be able to respond to things as they arise in the moment. Constant reminders to youth about safe bodies and keeping hands to yourself will be helpful, as touch or closeness may be a trigger for some youth. Implementing clear behavior management plans that you consistently apply across youth can help them understand expectations and consequences for not following guidelines. If those rules are not applied consistently, that's when you run into issues with youth behavior escalating because they feel like they have been treated unfairly or differently than others. Providing opportunities to check in as a group or individually can offer youth the space to process their feelings. These check-ins can be about program, it can look at how their week is going, or about a specific topic that you assign. But holding that dedicated time for activities like peaks and valleys or roses and thorns can provide the opportunity to share and also help the group get to know each other. When youth share their feelings or an issue that they have going on, make sure that you listen without judgment. Validate what they're feeling so that they can feel seen and heard. And if behaviors do get out of hand, utilize de-escalation techniques such as moving youth to a different location, respecting personal space, and remaining calm with a neutral tone, all while continuing to hold your boundaries. And if necessary, bring restorative practices to the group in order to repair any harm that may have been caused. Transparency and trust are the base of positive relationships with youth and families. In order to help build that transparency, make sure you're including youth and families in collaborative conversations so that they can be a part of decision-making. Offering multiple points of contact in the event that youth or a family feels challenged or uncomfortable with a particular staff person can help them feel like they have another resource available to them. Being sure to provide translation whenever possible really helps to build that trust and lets families know that they're valued and are an important part of your group. When youth share information with you, it's imperative that you don't ever tell them that you can promise not to share the information. Quite often in youth programs, we're required to make reports on certain information that we hear or see, as well as providing that information to make appropriate referrals to get them the resources they need will be necessary. So you don't want to jeopardize that trust by stating that you won't share their information. And finally, ensuring staff reflects the identities of youth and families can help them feel comfortable and represented. We talk a lot about voice and choice in youth programs, so continue to do the practices that you already have in place, like offering choice within programming, providing opportunities for youth input and feedback, and helping to share in decision-making, all really go to setting up this empowerment of youth. Some additional practices that might allow for youth to determine their own needs would be to offer a space for self-taken breaks. A time where they can decide if they need to pause participation so that they can regain control of their feelings and emotions, or take a mental break that they might be needing, all with some agreed upon parameters for return to the group. And again, allowing for that self-expression of thoughts, feelings, and identities will go a long way to have their voices being heard. Equity, anti-bias, and cultural affirmation happens at both the organization and program level. Addressing policies and procedures, providing staff training, and making space for difficult conversations should be pursued by the organization. At the program level, the many identities of youth and families should be reflected in staff, and practices to celebrate and discuss difference should be included within activities to help groups feel like they are part of the larger community. Finally, relationships are the foundation of youth work. So this is all probably a reminder for most folks, but additional strategies you can take to build relationships with youth include fostering healthy relationships among youth, modeling behaviors, and providing opportunities for youth to bond and get to know each other. An example might include practicing learning and pronouncing names, which goes a long way for youth to feel welcome and a part of the group. You can also provide support and encourage youth to support each other by offering activities where they can appreciate each other, or facilitating kindness initiatives where all youth receive encouragement and support from the whole group. Facilitating mindful moments for youth to practice emotional regulation and reflection can benefit individuals and the whole group. Again, going back to that time for a break to kind of recenter oneself. Finally, recognizing when things go beyond the skill level of staff and making those connections to appropriate resources is sometimes necessary. Staff can make a soft handoff to help those families who are hesitant to seek additional resources. So that looks like offering to make introductions, helping to attend a session if necessary or warranted. There are a lot of resources available to us about trauma and trauma-informed practice. This list includes resources that you've seen throughout this presentation and some others to help you on your own journey to support youth. I want to take a moment to thank you all for the hard work you do to support the wellness of children and youth through summer programs. Thank you.